Welcome back to the PI Show, viewers, and it's time for that segment, Viv's Mailbag. How are you, Viv?
Yay, very well. Thanks so much, Tony. Great to be here. Welcome back, Harry.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying this new set. It's nice and vibrant.
How's the impending birth going?
Well, we're 8 months in, so it's getting to the real end of the deal. So a bit scary. Maybe I can get some advice from you, and hopefully no medical negligence claims will ensue from there.
Keep the doctors on their toes. That's the best advice.
But just before we went to the break, you guys ran out of time, and I wanted to find out what happened with that Mahina case. What were the damages that actually came out of there?
Well, the damages, the judge awarded $322,000. Most of that would have been for economic loss. You know, he couldn't work for a period of time. It sounds though he made some reasonable recovery.
He had to make a reasonable recovery because if he got shot 3 times, so he would have thought that there was some fair income damage there, but I don't know.
He's probably...
The bullet probably bounced off his butt, who knows?
Well, being a Tongan.
He came from Tonga. He's probably one of the big security guards. They're all wearing black on the evening.
Well,
so would have been scary.
Yeah, very much so. It was great having Nuns on. But let's get stuck into it before we run out of time.
Yep.
Our first question comes from James. He says, about a month ago, my dad was involved in a car accident that wasn't his fault. His left leg was crushed and we don't know if he'll ever be able to walk again. The other car was driven by an 18-year-old bloke who had said that he'd accidentally pushed the accelerator instead of the brake while trying to brake. We are considering suing the driver, but are unsure if we actually have a case, and we don't know whether the young driver will actually be able to pay damages anyway if we succeed. Are there other things we can do to obtain compensation? Thank you, James. Tony?
He's definitely got a claim. What his dad's got to do is lodge a claim with TAC for no fault benefits. He'll get his medicals paid, loss of income at 80%. And even though if the 18-year-old's insured or not, it doesn't matter because anyone that drives a car in Victoria, you pay registration and everyone's insured. Now, if the car wasn't registered, the TAC still pay. So there's no issue.
But that's not to encourage anyone to not register their vehicles,
No. Everyone should have their car registered. They should all have a licence too, but James doesn't have to worry. His dad's pretty well and truly covered.
Covered by TAC. And if you're not insured and you cause property damage, then you've got no claim.
Okay.
So, but
from a personal injury point of view, he's got...
From a personal injury point of view, the father's got a claim, and the 18-year-old was negligent, and he caused the accident, and I agree with Tony, the father can sue, and he's protected under TAC legislation.
Sounds like a pretty big claim too, Harry, because if his leg's crushed, even if he gets back to work or
he says he can't work, so it's a significant
very
claim.
Significant claim.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for that question, James. We hope we've helped you a little bit. Our next question comes from Kat in Albert Park. She writes, "Hi guys, I was watching your show on sports injuries the other night and I was shocked that the school wasn't liable when the boy died during a sports class. I think it was the case where the kids were playing something called Minky. Does this mean that teachers do not actually need to look after the children in their care? I'm very concerned as a parent. If you could please advise, I'd be most grateful. Thanks, Kat." Harry?
Well, look, with sports injuries at school, a lot depends on the facts of each case. The two types of sports injuries are generally, I think, defective equipment. Like, if there's the school isn't maintaining equipment inside and outside, then you can sue for defective equipment. And I think they're a lot easier to prosecute than teachers who have a duty of care to supervise properly, but on the facts of each case, it varies considerably on how difficult or how easy it is to prosecute. But each case really...
It was a freaky accident, this one. I mean,
Well,
the
the
kid had the stick up here and swung it and hit him in the throat. You'd think you could do some serious damage, but you wouldn't have thought he would have died. It was pretty unlucky, I think.
The death.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think courts are generally reluctant to find schools liable to impose onerous duties on teachers to supervise everything kids do.
My memory of this case was that they gave an instruction to the children not to raise the stick, and that's why the case lost. But it was very unfortunate. I think it was touch and go as to whether you'd win or lose, because I mean, what you've got to look at is the game itself
inherently dangerous?
Yeah.
yeah.
And I reckon it probably is. You know, you got sticks up here, and
Yeah.
you can foresee.
I was just going to say, could the
Kids
teachers
are
foresee that?
unruly. Yeah, kids are unruly. They do all sorts of unexpected things. The teacher's there generally to supervise, but again, how far do you take it?
Yeah.
And my experience is
Look, it turns on
supervision. Yeah, supervision type cases are difficult. We've got settlements in these matters, in a few matters, but if there's defective equipment, it's a lot easier.
Well, just on that case, I think the plaintiff was very unlucky
Yeah,
to lose.
yeah.
Well, I think what advice could we give her in summary is just to try and have the children be quite wary of what's going on in the playground. And
If in doubt, and you've got concerns about what activities they're conducting or what sports activities and things like that, go to the school, speak to the teacher, principal, whoever, and just get some reassurance.
Okay. We better move on to our third question. This comes from Leah in North Carlton. She says, to the PI show, several months ago my daughter went to her Year 8 school camp. It was a sort of camp where students weren't allowed any mobile phones so that they could truly experience the nature involved and around them. She was on camp for 2 weeks, and she kept telling herself, she kept telling her teachers that she wasn't feeling very well. She actually returned home with pneumonia and gastro, and I took her to the doctors immediately. She said to me, my daughter said to me that she kept telling the teachers that she really wanted to speak to me, but they refused to allow her any access to phones. And in fact, their response to her was just challenge yourself. This is the environment that you need to challenge yourself in, and basically get over it, and they ignored her. This mother's appalled and disgusted that she didn't get a phone call and that her daughter returned to her in such a state. And she has some very expensive medical bills from the hospital, and she believes the school should actually be the ones to pay for those bills. Is this possible at all? Right, Leah.
Yeah, I would have thought that she's got a pretty good claim to get your medical expenses paid. You picked up on a Wrongs Act. It picks up medical expenses and
Out-of-pocket expenses.
Yeah, out-of-pocket expenses.
How difficult is it for her to
She's
then...
a Monty to get it in this case.
Really?
That's my view. Yeah. I mean, you know,
Harry,
Harry, 2 weeks later,
a bit more cautious.
challenge yourself? That's outrageous.
Well, it could be, and look, we don't mean to be...
To have pneumonia and gastroenteritis, you'd think that she's very, very ill, and they've done nothing to get medical attention.
I think earlier on.
I would have been. I probably
One issue is what extra damage was done. Like, you can't prevent people catching.
No, but I would have thought the medical and associated bills would be covered, and the only other thing is whether there's long-lasting damage, you know, and probably. You wouldn't think so,
No.
but if there is...
But you just don't know what would actually be, what would arise as a result of these
But
illnesses.
prima facie, it doesn't sound like there's permanent damage, so she wouldn't get it more than 5%.
No, you'd have to wait, and
under
then
the Wrongs Act.
eventually, you know, you'd have a look, and if there's more than
But
5%,
look,
you could sue.
I think consult a lawyer. We think on balance, you should probably get an offer.
Yep.
But we think
I think the best advice is to get
Get
a lawyer's
advice from a lawyer. That's what we always
Harry,
say.
it's
We've run out of time again. But thanks so much for your letters.
Thanks
Make
for
sure
watching.
you keep writing.
And next week we've got a special guest on victims of crime, which follows on from what we've done tonight, which is
the leading
assaults.
expert in the field, Harry.
And
Gary
is
Nicholson.
Melbourne's leading expert in victims of crime. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Thanks,
See you,
guys.
viewers. Thank you.